This is the fifth state winning headlines, your media police boost, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 10th of March, 2022, and I am 2M.
I am CS.
And I am 2J. And in case you missed today's headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, the Beast of Forest Road. The Standard, the Hardliners. In the Star, Raila, no joint primaries for AZIMIO parties. And in the People Daily, all eyes on Kalonzo as AZIMIO time runs out. A bit of a mixed bag, but I think 2M will kick us off today.
Absolutely. German philosopher George Hegel famously said, the only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. And we say this because William RUTO in 2007 warned us that people are bound to fight Kikuyus if they move from Kiambu to Rift Valley. Here is a clip.
And in Rift Valley, you will find, for example, a whole 5,000 acres inhabited from people who were brought from Kiamba. And they came to Rift Valley with the same name, Kiamba. You find another place, people who came from Rurigi in Central Province. Politics are very high stakes game, like the way it is now. People are bound to fight.
The same man has now callously defended border behavior and condemned government crackdowns in simplistic terms. Here again is a clip.
Na kama kuna watu ambao sio wazuri kwa bodaboda, kuna watu sio wazuri katika sectors yote. Mpaka ndani ya serikali ya Kenya, si kuna watu wakora wezi. Hawa walioiba pesa ya COVID si ni wafanyikazi wa serikali. Sasa tutasema serikali yote ivunjwe kwa sababu kuna wezi.
The man did not mention the vicious attack by border miscreants on the helpless young lady on Forest Road this week. And it's for this reason we want to tell country, the chief hustler and borders will take country to war in August. Take that to the bank. We are staring at a total collapse of law and order if borders are not contained now. Our prediction is based on a study Professor Mutai Ngonyi undertook in 2014, dubbed From Monopoly to Oligopoly of Violence. This was a study on militia and criminal gangs across the country. The findings of this study were many, but today we shall focus on two. The first finding was that criminal gangs in Kenya were mainly formed along transport corridors that were highly present in the matatu sector. We'll come to that shortly. The second finding we made was that for every 20 guns that were in police hands, criminals had 30 in their hands.
Wow.
We call this the force to space ratio. It is basically the sum of guns in the hands of criminals versus the number of guns in the hands of police. Back to our first finding, that criminal gangs are highly present in the transport sector. Excuse me. Border gangs are an offshoot of criminal gangs that operated across transport routes. And there's history to this. Remember when Mungiki, Kamjesh, Chinkororo lined up along matatu routes from Kiambu to Mlolongo to Dandora? They were collecting protection fees from matatus. They were extorting matatus. But the state intervened and the gangs were forced out of their criminal activities. They, however, invested their money back into the transport sector. Excuse me. But this time round, they bought motorbikes and plunged into transport. But their criminality did not leave them. In fact, borders made them far more effective in their crimes more than ever before. That is why today 90% of all bank robberies, drive-by shootings and phone snatchings are done by borders. The same criminality that drove them then is the same criminality driving them now. But we also want to argue it is also the reason why borders, or rather border mobs appear instantaneously when accidents happen. You know, it is ingrained in gang culture. Why are we saying all this? If William RUTO told us in 2007 that people are bound to fight, it's because, people were bound to fight because Kikuyus moved from central Kenya to Rift Valley. What should we think when he defends borders criminality? And if for every 20 guns the police have, criminals and borders have 30, how will August look if RUTO loses the election and calls on them to do mass action. People, William RUTO is sending us a message, and we will decipher that message for you. He is the de facto boss of Border Borders, and he is perfectly okay with what they're doing now. He warned us about Kikuyus in Kiamba, and we failed to heed the warning. When RUTO and Border Borders strike in August, don't say we never warned you.
You know, increasingly, I am getting the very strong impression that William RUTO is a threat to national security.
Now, 2M has provoked a very interesting scenario. But we have to ask the question, is it likely to pan out? In which case, is there something that we should be worried about? Why is it that the whole country has banded together to condemn the thuggery of the border industry and this disgusting harassment of a young woman? And while country has gone right, UDA has gone wrong. Itumbi is confused and has called it an issue of business interests. Other wheelbarrow fanatics have framed it as a class war. And all the while, as 2M told us, the hustler-in-chief William RUTO has kept quiet on the issue. And his silence is loud. But in our view, his silence must be for good reason. And the reason is simple. Mr. RUTO has just acquired a new and loyal voter base of 2 million strong, the border nation. And what 2M said is right. As NATO says, if indeed an attack on one is an attack on all, now that they have a leader to follow and protect them, are they wheels for hire? And this thought made me draw parallels between what we are beginning to see in Kenya and the Capitol riot that took place after Donald Trump lost the election last year. In a haze of anger and madness, Trump supporters stormed the Capitol building, a whole government building, to protest the election results. Eventually, investigations concluded that Donald Trump made statements that encouraged and foreseeably resulted in the illegal actions of the Capitol attack. In short, Donald Trump urged his supporters to, and I quote, fight much harder against bad people and show strength at the Capitol. He was responsible for fueling their rage. But what the Capitol attack teaches us is how only just a few words can incite violence if the ground has been primed to act. What we must understand is how a few words or statements incite a rebellion. So one component of inciting someone to violence is presenting them with a shared understanding of the world. So in the US, Trump had created a culture of weaponized communication that was aimed at a particular opponent. He played on certain people feeling left behind. It was us versus them. In the case of Kenya, we are faced with the same scenario. RUTO has begun to weaponize the hustlers versus dynasties narrative. It's the exact same thing. So what would give 16 plus grown men on motorbikes the courage to chase, strip, attack, and steal from a young woman simply because she was driving a car? And what message are you sending to the public when you fail to condemn those actions? These militia groups are being entertained by one side of the political divide. And at some point, very sadly, this issue will burst in a way that will be too big to ignore. And the owners of the hustler nation will be 100% responsible. You cannot incite a class war and then go to bed with a clear conscience. So our advice to William RUTO, be very careful about owning certain groups of people, because even Donald Trump lost control over the monster he had created. And history has taught us that the French Revolution ate those very people who created it in the end.
ICC will eat him.
You know, it needs to be said that considering he's following Trump's model, we need to remind him that Trump is the only president in US history to have been impeached twice.
Right?
The writer and thinker George Orwell, in a collection of essays titled Facing Unpleasant Facts, wrote that sometimes the first duty of intelligent men is to restate the obvious, and that in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Article 137 of the Constitution of Kenya, sub-article 1A, a person qualifies for nomination as a presidential candidate if the person is a citizen by birth. Emphasis on the word citizen. There are no idle provisions in the Constitution. Every article is an essential thread in weaving the fabric of our social and political order.
Right.
Article 137(1)A is a provision we may need to consider closely in the coming months because it reminds us that before any person is a president, he or she is a citizen.
Correct.
But also, it is implicit that even after a person is president, they remain a citizen after their term in office. This may seem obvious, but in addition to Article 137(1)A, Article 12(1)A provides that every citizen is entitled to the rights, privileges, and benefits of citizenship.
Correct.
This includes what is provided under Article 38(1), which provides that every citizen is free to make political choices, which includes the right to form or participate in forming a political party, to participate in the activities of a political party, and to campaign for a political party or cause. If these are the rights of every Kenyan citizen, what logic informs those who are suggesting that President Uhuru should retire quietly and not participate in politics after his presidency? What is it about the office of president that makes a person any less of a Kenyan citizen? Why was the president personally sued for motivating a popular initiative to improve the constitution through Article 257, which is a right of any Kenyan citizen? And why are some people anxious about and arguing against the president continuing as the leader of the Jubilee Party? The constitutional limit for occupying the office of president is 2 5-year terms under the current constitution. That, however, does not impose a term limit on being a leader or even enjoying the rights of a citizen, which includes political rights.
Absolutely.
And history offers us a great example of a man who, like Uhuru Kenyatta, was the son of one of the founding fathers of a nation. And both father and son served as president, and the son continued to serve his country as a leader long after his presidency. The name of this man was John Quincy Adams, the 6th president of the United States, the son of John Adams, the 2nd president of the US after George Washington. After John Quincy Adams concluded his term as president, he went on to be elected to the US Congress for 9 consecutive elections after his presidency. And he served for 17 years until his death. And it was the people of Massachusetts that implored him to continue to serve. And some of his greatest contributions to history happened during this time. In fact, he was so respected that every time he stood to speak in Congress on key issues, it is said that the whole chamber fell silent. And they gave him the nickname Old Man Eloquent. And so we ask, unless you plan to strip President Uhuru of his citizenship and his political rights, why would you deny the country the service of a great leader?
Because somebody says, ati huyu anistaafu, aende nyumbani, I want to ask, kongamano hii lote. Young man like Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta, anaenda nyumbani kufanya nini? Ni ubaya gani ye kuendelea na kazi ile anajua na amefanya kazi mingi?
You know what, CS? A lot of these green and yellow mascots, they don't read. And don't even go to the US. Right here in DRC, you know, our neighbor here, President Kabila is a senator. He's a lifetime senator. He was president just the other day, and now he's a senator. He is still in active politics. But because our green and yellow mascots do not read, they are, they're prone to talking like they have brain damage.
No, because for them, of course, I think it's not about continuity. It's about you served, you're done, you leave.
Absolutely.
And I think, CS, you put it perfectly how you ended. Why would you deny the country the service of a great leader? A great leader should continue to serve, regardless of whether they are president, senator, governor, whatever it may be.
Because at the end of the day, they're Kenyan.
Kenyan citizens, precisely. So on that note, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines by. We ask ourselves, is this headline topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally thoughtful or just plain lazy? Daily Nation, the Beast of Forest Road, quite like that. The Standard, the Hardliners, the Star, Raila, no joint primaries for AZIMIO parties, and People Daily, all eyes on Kalonzo as AZIMIO time runs out. So I want to toss the People Daily because I think it's quite confusing and it's misleading, right? According constitutionally, as per what IEBC has gazetted, April 11th is the deadline for coalition agreements. So Kalonzo is not running out of time. He has plenty of time. What I think they're referring to is the AZIMIO, I think it's an NDC of sorts that's happening.
Absolutely.
Where Jubilee and ODM will agree to have Raila as the flag bearer. So I think we toss that for being misleading and not giving accurate information. The Star, it's just a fact. It's quite boring. Toss it.
Inje kabisa.
The Standard, the hardliners.
What about them?
Fantastic headline. I think it's a great headline, but we don't agree. So toss it.
Yeah.
Leaving us only with the Daily Nation, the Beast of Forest Road. What do you guys say?
Love it. Let's do it.
Right, the Beast.
Yeah, the Beast.
Who is this Beast? Right.
Is he from Kai?
Okay, so there we have it. The Daily Nation gives us our reading headline. Now on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a three-part criteria. We ask ourselves, are the cartoons humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and finally effective or just plain lazy? I think we'll take the Daily Nation and the Star together because they speak to the same thing. Sure. Kick us off with the Star. The
Star, you have caricature of Mike Sonko, and the man is digging his own grave. And you have Uncle Sam right there, and the caption there is, look on the bright side, mister. You are on the news again, just as you like. I think the context of this is a banning of Mike Sonko and his family from entering the United States.
Yeah.
I think based on corruption charges. Corruption charges. I don't know who sits at the State Department, because what Sonko has committed is far less than someone else I know.
Right?
Yes. Someone who was just there. Someone who was just there a couple of days ago. I don't know how he was allowed to enter.
Right?
And I'm great you've said that, because that's actually my thinking about the Daily Nation cartoon.
Yeah, let's go through the Daily Nation.
You have a caricature there of Mike Sonko being taken through an X-ray machine at an airport at the US border, and he's being stopped for graft. So I think the timing of this is very interesting, and as you rightly said, there are people who've committed far greater crimes, and you know, in corporate finance there's something called dividend signaling. Based on the dividend that's announced, you know how a company is going to perform. This may be an indication of things to come for people who have committed crimes far worse than Mike Sonko.
So the worst is yet to come, possibly. Okay, I think we like both of these cartoons, right?
Yes.
Let's put them in the parking bay while we look at the Standard. So here in the Standard from Gado, we have two caricatures, one of the Archbishop of Canterbury and the other of Deputy President William RUTO. The Archbishop is holding his nose as if something is smelly, and he's shaking hands with the person who smells, who is surrounded by flies, Deputy President William RUTO.
Fantastic.
And for the first time, Gado's guy is speechless.
Yes.
I think he's saying that something is stinking, something doesn't smell right. The context here, of course, is that Deputy President William RUTO met with the Archbishop of Canterbury when he was in the UK on Tuesday. And no details emerged from their meeting, except from a single tweet that came from the Archbishop's account. And he said, "Good to meet Deputy President William RUTO. Looking forward to seeing Raila Odinga next week, and so on and so forth about the August elections." Talk about a lukewarm reception.
No, that was contemptuous of William RUTO. He was being completely contemptuous of William RUTO. You know, I mean, if you're to meet such a dignitary, you would say, great to meet Deputy President William RUTO.
Full stop.
Full stop. And then he says, good to meet. He says, what has it done? He says, good to meet William RUTO. He said, looking forward
to meeting Raila
next week.
So maybe he is sensing, maybe the spirits, maybe God has spoken to him as an archbishop, and he knows that something is afoot, right?
Absolutely.
So what do we say about these three cartoons?
I love Gado.
Okay, Gado?
I love Gado. I love Gado.
CS, what do you say?
Yeah, go with Gado.
Gado, all right, there we go. There we have it. The Standard gives us our winning cartoon. So just to recap, we have a winning headline from the Daily Nation, a winning cartoon from the Standard. I want to leave you with a quote from the late and great Toni Morrison, who is a favorite here at the Fort Hall School of Government. And I've kind of adjusted it so I can, tell it to our audience. Dear Kenyans, we would be foolish to mistake violence for passion, laziness for leisure, and think of recklessness as freedom. Now think about that.
I love it.
Thank you for joining us today. Do not forget you can find us on your TV screens. We're on Pang Free to Air, GoTV and Star Times. Also don't forget to subscribe and tag on notifications on YouTube. Have a great evening and we will see you tomorrow.
God bless.